Welcome, everybody, to the Strive Summit podcast. Today with me, I have Brian Dilley from Lake Erie Electrical. Brian, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Brian Dilley with Lake Erie Electric. I'm our Director of Construction Services here in our Toledo branch. I was a JIW in the field, worked my way up to this position. So excited to see where this conversation goes and help get other people, interested in the trades and modeling.
Awesome. So, listeners out there, Brian, we've met a while ago, and we actually met for the first time, shook hands, and vaguely remember that night at Advancing Prefab 2023. I've been good. I would say we're good colleagues. I don't work at Lake Erie, but we've talked quite a bit on and off professionally. So, Brian, I'm happy to have you on. So, you said you were director of, what was it again?
Director of Construction Services.
Director of Construction Services. So that's new to me.
Okay.
Last I heard, we were working inside the department. So you want to talk about your newfound position?
Yeah. So I started as our prefabrication, actually a shop foreman here at Lake Erie Electric, and then moved up to prefabrication manager. But then we decided to bring several departments under my control. So that is our design department, our digital design group. So that covers everything from 2D, 2D design in Bluebeam, and just having a plan to, AutoCAD, Revit. All those people work for me. And then our prefabrication department is also underneath me. And then we also have like another division as well, which is Aaron. If anyone knows Aaron Graven, he's our right-hand man. But he's kind of his own entity that's under me as well. So I'd almost consider that the innovation side of our business, where we're looking at merging technologies and seeing how it can help us streamline our process. So
that's awesome. I definitely need to get Aaron on at some point. That'll be a blast. So congratulations on the promotion. That sounds exciting, and also a lot to start off with. So wish you the best of luck. I think it's going to be awesome when it gets sorted out.
Yeah, it's every day is a kind of an adventure. It's one of the good things about my job is I don't know what I'm going to be doing each day. So I come in and we just kind of put out the fires and try and develop our BIM team here. But it's what I enjoy about my job is it gives that unpredictability that you don't really want the office job where you know what you're going to do every day. Come in,
right?
And, that's one of the main things that attracted me to the trades in the first place was that. Even if you are working somewhere for 6 months to a year in the trades, you are, that's going to change every so often. That's one of the things I loved about it.
That's awesome. So, working at Lake Erie, I'm sure you guys have some cool tech that you guys use in the field. Has there been any cool tech or software you've seen lately? Have you gone any? Well, I guess show season hasn't started yet, so event season. But what have you seen lately that's interesting to you?
Yeah, I think we just had a demo yesterday of Open Space, which is pretty nice. It has some good functionality there, and more of a CYA sort of software for us.
That's always good to have, yeah.
Yeah. I like the fact that you could go back. I can see the application of it. A 360 camera that you're walking around a job site, it knows where you're at all the time. When you're walking the print, once you tell it where to start, it has some AI built into it as well. So that was neat to see. Other things that we're looking into right now are some different labeling products. So we're looking at a Mamaki printer, a large format printer, so we can make our own tags. We get into some really weird stuff. We do anything and everything that comes in the door here, and sometimes that involves, actually a lot of times it involves labeling, making custom tags, that sort of things. So we've been looking at that a little bit recently. I know that those are the main things we've been looking at. We still want to get a scanner. We haven't got one of those. I really want a 3D printer. Uh, but it's kind of it's something we got to work up an ROI on. This technology and give like a use caseage of, okay, well, what is? I mean, it's really cool. No one's questioning that, but like, how are we going to apply that to the electrical industry? And sometimes you got to reach a little bit, but I have a plasma cutter here. It was one of the first big pieces of technology I bought for this branch when I got in here, and I did an ROI on it. I got to only cut out like 200 of these plates, and the thing's paid stuff off, and I've yet to cut one of those plates out yet. So I did the ROI on, but it's but we use the thing all the time. Fire pits. We make signs for other offices. We custom brackets. Anything. There's stuff we post on our LinkedIn page quite often. Of I made a replacement part for an antique fire truck that you could ride on, like a kid could ride on.
Really?
Yeah, out of one piece of metal. So I just designed. I only had pictures to go off of and the fire truck itself. So I kind of scaled it in Bluebeam to get the measurements off the piece I didn't have.
Yeah.
You always try to find a way, and it's one of those things that kind of keeps our skills sharp. So when someone comes in the door with a problem that we haven't seen before, like, well, I kind of did something similar to this. We get a little off topic, but
it's all right. Keep going.
One of the first things I made with the plasma cutter, my boss brought in, because he likes to challenge us as well. He brought in a putt-putt loop, and
okay.
And I got this plasma cutter, and I'm like, do you want me to fix this one, or do you want me to make a new one? He's like, yeah, make a new one. So we end up having to figure out how we're going to make a putt-putt loop. If you've never made one, or thought about what goes into making something like that, it's a pain. But it can be done, and those are the types of things I guess I look at.
That's fun. So it sounds like a lot of the tech you've been kind of solving problems and puzzles, and even though you haven't cut anything on that plasma cutter specifically for Lake Erie, you've got plenty of much on it as far as practice and stuff goes. So that's super awesome, and it's good to hear. So also, if anyone in the comments wants to give ROI for Brian and why he needs a laser scanner, and you got a prism, get a prism, feel free to drop a comment in there, and there you go. You can show your boss that, Brian.
Yeah.
Look at all this ROI.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the laser scanner, it was always we got to wait for that one job to come in, and that it's just going to make perfect sense. And, it's, $50,000 isn't really that much, or I think they've probably gotten down a little lower than that now, but
it depends on which one you want to get.
Yeah.
They can get pricey. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, on a couple, $50 million job, $20 million job, it's not that much. So
awesome. Well, okay, Brian. So I want to know how you got from point A to point B, how you went from high school, what got you into the trades, what got you into BIM, and how you kind of worked your way up. So let's start back in like your days where you had no idea that you were going to be doing what you're doing today.
Okay. So I'm a little bit of a weird case, I'm going to say. So I did a book report in 8th grade, which, yeah, I know, where I decided I was either going to be, some sort of electrician at that point. So at that time, I thought I was going to be just, like a commercial electrician, or I thought a nuclear electrician. That sounds fun.
In 8th grade?
8th grade, yeah. They decided, well, to be fair, I had just done help with the first service change I ever did. So my step uncle, was an electrician, or I don't think he was certified or anything like that. But we did a service change on our house, and I like that a lot. I've always been around the trades. My mother worked at a trade school, so Penna County here in Toledo. So always was around the school. I used to actually help her with data entry when I was a child. I'd go in, she'd go on the weekends, and she'd be like, yeah, just type in off this, sheet into the computer. And I've always had a computer in my life. So I didn't like school, so I decided I was going to go into the trades. I didn't want to go to college. And through high school, I was an honors student and everything like that, and I still decided to stick with it. I made up my mind that's what I was going to do. I went to our trade school for 2 years, graduated when I was 17, and I went right into the union. So I went to the residential program, which if I hadn't gone to the trade school, I wouldn't have been able to apply until I was 18. So that got me in younger. And then, so I did 2 years of residential, 5 years of commercial apprenticeship. And then when I topped out, I was already working for Lake Erie Electric. So I think I was a journeyman in the field for 2 or 3 years before I came in the office to do prefabrication. And again, that was another one of those just kind of stumbled into it sort of things where I had no intention of doing prefabrication. I felt like I was kind of doing it on job sites when I had a baker scaffold. I'm setting up boxes, knocking them out for a whole floor, and then I was going around and screwing them all up instead of just doing one at a time. I was doing more of a batch sort of process.
Prefab, yeah.
Yeah. But then I got into this young leaders group with Lake Erie. And I decided and my young leaders group presentation was on prefab, which I believed in because, I didn't have to cut up the PVC risers, and I could just order it all. And it, just made more sense to have someone at a lower, and it's not the only benefit, but looking at it from the perspective, a lower pay rate, making something that didn't, it just made my job easier. And then, not to mention all the safety and the less waste and all that goes along with it. But that's kind of what got me interested in it. I told my boss I wanted to run work, and he was like, "All right, my next project, you're going to run it." And then his next project was prefabrication manager. So, so yeah, and then I kind of grew up in a bubble. I didn't realize that the prefabrication world was as big as it was. People in California have been doing it for 20, 30 years. At the time I started, I'm thinking I'm pretty far along in my journey. After a couple of years, I think it was 2020 was my first Advancing Prefab I went to, which is 8 years after I topped out. And as far as prefabrication goes, we felt like we were good. It was that's where I really got my eyes open to the BIM side of things, and just seeing what was out there. We did have one detailer at that time, or one BIM coordinator, which we thought we were pretty fortunate. No one else in our area had one, so we were like, "Oh, we're ahead of the curve." So then I went to Advancing Prefab in 2020. Saw the Evolve. The program Evolve MEP, and it about knocked my socks off when I saw that. Came back, said we need to really take a look at this technology that's out there. Start looking outward, and I guess that's kind of how over time we just kept growing the department, because it just originally started with me, and then I slowly grabbed people like Aaron to help me build it. And over time, that's how we got to where we are today, where in the last 2 years, we've probably hired 5 people for our department. So you would have asked me even 3 years ago if we'd be here, I would have said no, but it's been on an upward trajectory. And I guess that's how I got here, but another way is just accepting. One of my philosophies is, if you see a problem, don't just ignore it. Like, I've been telling people that for years. Like, if I see a problem, I'm going to step into that spot and plug the hole.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's kind of, and luckily this has been my skill set. You know, I'm a gamer. I'm a huge nerd. There's Lord of the Rings stuff here behind me, and Muppets and Sasquatch, Star Wars, Forrest Gump, all the stuff behind me here. You know, and you know, it's, you just kind of do what you got to do, embrace it, and kind of control the chaos a little bit, I guess.
So what's the game right now you have between all of your chaos you got going on? What's the game of choice at the moment?
My game of choice right now, I've been playing two of them. So I've been playing Hogwarts Legacy. My wife got me a PS5 for Christmas.
Nice lady.
So I've been playing that. And then I used to play a mobile game, but they changed the mobile game overnight, and then all of us stopped playing it. So I have a friend in London that I play a game with, him and my wife, and so that one's Palea, which is more of like a farming simulator sort of game. It's fun. It's just running around and collecting stuff, and yeah.
I have so many mobile games on my phone, and like right now I was Xbox for a little bit. Now I'm more PC, and I just bought like Baldur's Gate and Bannerlord. So I was playing those for a little bit when I get time. You know, it's very much okay. Wife went to bed early. It's 8:00. I got like another hour in me. Let's see what I can do.
Yeah, I get that 100%.
So, honor roll student, that kind of transferred over into your professional career as well. If I do remember, at Advancing Prefab in 2022, I believe you got an award.
I got nominated for an award, which again, no, honestly. Okay, this is the funny thing. Okay, so Advancing Prefab 2020, Aaron and my boss nominated me for this award, which was, I think it was, I don't remember what it was, but basically it was like one person is making a big change in the prefab or pre-construction industry. And the people that were in that category with me, I'm like, how the hell did I get here? Like, he had to use ChatGPT to get me here. I mean, there's no way that it was, but I can say that I was upset with him at first about it because I'm an introvert. I don't really like to put myself out there like that, but it was a good experience. It was a good time. I definitely don't regret it at all. And Amy Marks told me some stuff that the reason that, because you feel like you don't deserve it is why you actually do deserve it, sort of thing. Like, you don't. The guy who ended up winning it was knighted, so what are you gonna do against that? He's
I don't deserve $1 million.
No. It was, but he's making like an AI driven app for children to help design schools in England, and I'm like, how are we in the same category? And that's kind of, but she's like, yeah, I mean, you made it to the top 5. I'm like, cool. So it was one of those, like I said, and then I guess it depends on how you look at things, but.
Well, it was awesome that you were there, and I believe what Amy said. Like, you wouldn't be there if people didn't want you there. So, I mean, I would say for what you guys are doing in Lake Erie is pretty advanced from what I know. So, I know I came in, I helped kind of train you guys in BIM a little bit. Your prefabrication process, I think, Jeff and Jerry came down there. It was all pretty impressive. So you guys are doing a good job. And like prefab wise, there are some things that some other people should be doing that you are doing. So it's good to know.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the trades to BIM. So something I've been kind of, getting out there is you're coming out of high school, or you're in 8th grade making a book report and you know exactly what you want to do, but you're coming out of high school, you have no idea what you want to do, man or woman, and you're like, college isn't for me, school's not for me. There's so many other trades that, I think get a bad rap. Like, I want to be a plumber, electrician. Yeah, well, you can be a
Mhm.
plumber electrician for 4 years. You can go through that, get your card, do 4 years of field, get paid to do it out of high school, and then
Mhm.
transfer to a seat. Because, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, you would take anyone in the field at Lake Erie and put them behind a desk right now if you could.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if anyone, if there's still people out there that are gamers and electricians. It's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
unicorn a little bit,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but those people absolutely, I would in a heartbeat take them. But even if they didn't have the computer skills, we need people that I can teach computer skills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, it's gonna frustrate me a little bit the pecking at the keyboard, but that comes with time.
Right.
And as far as is it easier to learn how to, use your keyboard, or is it harder to learn how to use a pipe bender correctly and know all that field knowledge is just so hard to transfer. When you live it for, I mean, I've been an electrician for over half my life now, obviously, 20 years, and to take that knowledge and to just give it to someone is really hard to do because they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand. It's really hard to explain why you need to kick this 90 instead of offsetting the 90. I'll just look at it and be like, oh yeah, you should just kick that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now, I am not an electrician by all means, and I
right,
don't claim to do any kind of special electrician kind of modeling. But I definitely understand what you're saying when there's field experience that you get from um, working in the field that you don't get from learning about or reading in a book.
right.
I had a unique experience working at a modular factory, and the field just happened to be out my door, and so oftentimes my door got kicked in. So if I did offset instead of doing come on,
Kick,
kick,
kick.
thank you, yep, thank you, see, it's why I'm not an electrician. They'd come and kick my door and say, why'd you do that,
Hmm.
so I learned pretty quick with a lot of mistakes, and you have to learn with mistakes. And I think anything with, just like learning on the field with mistakes, there's computer mistakes as well.
Oh,
For
absolutely.
I would say, well, actually, I can't say, but I believe when someone makes a computer mistake, it's a little more frustrating because you know how easy it is to fix, and you let it ride, and it ruined everything else down the line. So you got to fix everything else.
Right,
But also, if you made that mistake in the field, it's a different mindset. It's like, okay, we messed up here, and I'm down there now. What can I do here to make this look okay, or this be
right.
okay? Right? Because you're
Hmm.
not going to uninstall everything and do it over again. So that mindset also has to be, that's all field mindset. You don't get that from running a computer. So, um,
Right.
no, that's awesome that you have that experience.
Hmm. Yeah, no, and like you're saying there with, yeah, in the field you're playing with a lot of money when that happens. Like
Yep.
if you screw up a piece of foreign EMT, you're like throwing $150 in the trash,
Hmm.
and it's kind of crazy when you think about it that way, because you can blow through $1,000 really fast.
I,
um, but yeah.
I had a talk with a guy from Hungary.
Mhm.
Okay, he owns his own industrial piping company, whatever. Maybe it wasn't Hungary, it was Turkey, whatever, one of those European countries. And he went and visited the country next to him, and he goes, their quality control is amazing,
Mhm.
but it's a shit work environment. And I was like, well, what makes it one or the other? He was telling me that when people weld the pipes together, they pay for the material.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, so the material comes in, you get paid per weld. And if you mess up that weld or you have to throw out the pipe, that comes out of your paycheck to fix the pipe. And I'll tell you what, that would make a lot of people buckle their pants and do it right the first time.
Yeah.
But also, you can imagine how that can go downhill real quick on a job.
Right. Yeah. Especially. Yeah. No. That's
Unique,
that could
though,
be
I will
rough.
tell you.
I
Very
mean, that's how
interesting.
you learn is from mistakes. I mean, especially. I
Don't
mean,
make them.
normally you start with a smaller conduit than a 4-inch, but uh, but yeah, I mean, just the amount of money that goes into all that. but it does make you consider your QA/QC quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
more. I mean, it's one of those extreme cases, and you're like, yeah, okay, I can see
That could
how
work.
that you take
Yeah.
more pride in your work then.
Yeah.
You're definitely paying attention. You're not looking at your foot like, oh, in the middle of a weld, and you kind of look over and then you got to throw it away.
I saw it in your face. You were like, "Can I do that?" Or
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's ways to incentivize. It's not quite the same thing, but there's different ways you can look at it.
Then BIM would not be needed, and all that's trash, anyways. No.
Oh, you still need it. Still need it.
So you are a firm believer of BIM now. Obviously, you're in a position you are.
Mm-hmm.
Would you think that when you were back in the trades, when you were actually putting it in? Is that something that you even considered or even like thought about? Or are you just like, this is prints, or like these prints are shit? That happens a lot.
Yeah, honestly, when I was in the field, we had one BIM designer, and normally she was on one project at a time. Like it was really early on in the adoption of, I think she came into the office maybe a year before I did. So I never actually had a chance to work on a project that had, like a Navisworks model or anything like that. Prefab was relatively new for our area. At that time, we had just opened the prefab shop here, I think a year or two before I came in and took it over. But yeah, if when I saw it, I'm like, this is awesome,
Mm-hmm. Why doesn't everyone do this? What are the prints I've been getting for the past 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like how the whole thing goes, at first it's kind of awe, then over years of me looking at a BIM model, I'm like, all right, let's make this constructible. There's, I think a lot of the time, some people are looking at BIM to check that box, like I need to do this for coordination. Gives me a loose framework, so where to be, but there's been so many. I mean, that's me and Aaron's main focus is constructability, and that's I think that part right there. If I were to see a constructible model, like if I see a model with couplings in it, I know someone actually took time.
Yeah. Yep. So,
and then, I guess so. I would love to see. I've seen it then, but I still love seeing it now.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So there are different philosophies with BIM as far as it has to have everything in models. You have to have ITM content, right? I need to see everything put together as it is in real life, or I need it coordinated so my guys in the field can finish that last, 20%, 10% up. Where do you sit on this, being both from the field and in BIM?
I currently I am sitting on, let's get it, probably I'm going to say 80% of the way there. That's where I currently am. Mm-hmm. Eventually down the line, as our team grows, I'm going to be pushing hard for branch. A lot of times we just, as electricians and stuff like that, we're modeling the home runs out to where they stop essentially, and then from there it's smaller conduits going one on their own all over the place. But in my 2D layouts, I'm showing all that. So as far as giving a plan for what to do, I'm still new to Revit, but I push the 2D design to Revit and the home run layouts to the team so they kind of know where everything's going. Mm-hmm. Eventually, we want to be 100%. I'm not going to lie to you. That's my end goal. It might be a mirage that I'm always chasing, but as far as that's where my end goal is to have a fully constructible model that I can show someone. But as it stands right now, like we have these discussions about, all right, well, I want the coupling face, you got a set screw coupling.
Yep.
When they're modeling, if the set screws are facing up, I want them facing down. That's the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you really need that? And I'm like, well,
yes.
maybe we just put compression couplings in then. That way I'm still getting to count for the coupling, but it's not driving my OCD nuts. No. Just like, because that's one of the things with us in the field is we look at something and we can tell you if it's wrong immediately. Mm-hmm. And so when I look at a model and I see that, I'm like, oh, no, it can't be like that. And they're like, why not? And it's not simple to change. You know, you got to build in rotations on your families and
Well,
to get
that's
it to do that.
if you're doing custom families and stuff. Yeah, yeah. I mean, but I would say I'm the other side where, because I guess I
Mm-hmm.
come from prefab, like background is just manufacturing prefabrication, so everything had to be in the model. And now I'm at the point where, like, even though the couplings, everything in the model, like you said, like, rotate them, make
Mm-hmm.
sure your valves are facing where someone can actually reach, coordinate your mechanical room or electrical room so that people can actually walk in it instead of just putting lines arbitrarily in space and leaving
No.
6-inch gaps between 3/4 inch conduit, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
know you've seen that before because it happens all the time with design models.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like, well, let's do this as we're going to see it, because when someone walks in there, they're going to have to know where it goes and how it highlights, and then that transfers directly to prefabrication, right? Whatever this model shows is what's going to come out, is what's going to fit in the building. And there's a whole lot of stuff to also like confirm, right? To
Yeah.
get down to that level of detail, you need a scanner to confirm site conditions, right? I can build the mechanical room and then scan it, and it will not match up whatsoever to the actual model because, as we all know, everything's straight in this world. Nothing is
Oh yeah.
beams. So you got to go through and you got to make sure, okay, this is actually what's there. How does everything fit in actually what's there? What issues are
Yeah.
you going to have coming through?
Yeah. That's 90 degrees. That corner back there. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
is
Yeah.
it
100%.
100%? Yeah, you got a
Yeah.
square. Yeah, sure.
uh.
All the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything is straight.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's awesome. And actually, you have a pretty great story. I'm not going to lie. From 8th grade, from a book report, you knew what you were going to do. And I got to say, that is, what is that? What do you call that? Not determination. Uh,
I don't
tunnel
know.
vision? No, no, no.
Uh, it's somewhere in between the two, I think.
Perseverance. There it is.
Yeah,
Perseverance.
I think it's like I said. I found something I enjoyed,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, honestly, you go back even farther than that. You know, I used to play Lego. I noticed I didn't put the S there. That's how you know. And but I used to tear apart things, and me and my brother both had that sort of mindset. So if we had like say a box fan in our house that didn't work,
Mm-hmm.
we'd take it out in the garage, take it apart, and see if we could get it to work. And most of the time, it was just in pieces we ended up throwing out, or but
Mm-hmm.
being curious about how things work. Um, I'll sit there and watch how it's made all day.
Yep.
Uh, it's
Dirty
just
jobs, how it's made, all that
yeah.
stuff. And
Oh yeah.
I have, so growing up, Lego as well.
Mm-hmm.
No S. And
Yes,
then
right.
I had a lot of remote control cars that I would always play battle bots with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we always had broken RC cars. We smash them together and make them work again. I had one that would jump, and so I put spikes on the bottom so it would jump and land on the other one. It's all held with like hot glue and duct tape and like pens
Yeah.
taped to the front. But that was younger me. So always
Mm-hmm.
taking apart things. And I think that's a common trait, honestly, for a lot of people in this industry, whether they're tradesmen or in the BIM industry, is they were always curious on how things worked, and they're
Mm-hmm.
always either with connects or Lincoln logs for that matter, like how things come together, pulling things apart, maybe not always going back together because I know how
Oh
that
yeah.
is. I have
Yeah.
a lot of electronic trash.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's really awesome. And if you're out there and you have those kind of traits and you're still not knowing what to do, try it out. Even if, well, I would say maybe not commit to a trade unless you like really know that that's the trade you want to go into. I'm sure there's a bunch of vocational schools you can, like you have one down in Ohio, we got one out here in Boise, that you can join, and they give you the right tools to then pick the right vocational school to then further your career. So
Mm-hmm.
that is
Yeah.
awesome.
And just another thing to kind of plug there for vocational schools. Even if like I have ADD, I don't have the hyperactive part, but I have that, and I kind of knew that school wasn't my forte. Not saying trades is the right route for everyone, but there are programs to try even during the summer in some cases. Like ours puts on summer classes so you can test out the stuff. So you're not making that decision, even they have like exploratory. I think now even the trade schools start like sophomore, freshman year,
Wow.
where they have exploratory classes, but they even have summer things where you can try it out, or, like I get, friends of my family and stuff like that, and other people that think that they might want to try the trades, and they'll reach out, and, I'll take them through and show them a couple things and see if it's something that they want to do, and give them a real talk about what they're really in for when coming into the trades.
Right.
As days like, I'm sure it's cold where you are right now. It's cold. And right now we had freezing rain this morning. It was a level 1. You're going to work.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
it's gonna happen.
There's people. So let me tell you something. There's 3 main trades, right? There's a plumbing, mechanical, electrical, and everyone knows that. But there are different divisions within each, right?
Yeah.
If you go into electrical, you can go into telecoms. You can go into database, it's like server or some kind of electrical. There, you can go just regular tradesman, right? You probably always start as a tradesman, but you can always move your industry to where you want. That can also help with a BIM career, 100%. Because there are companies out there that all they do is servers and databases for like Meta and Amazon. And so you can go and be a BIM coordinator for that company. They would hire you in a heartbeat if you had that experience actually building them, 1,000%. If I bet you if any tradesman went to any mechanical or any kind of contractor for that matter and said, hey, yeah, I've been doing mechanical for the past 4 years. I really want to learn BIM. You'd probably be hired on the spot because that never happens. That's the unicorn you're looking for right now, Brian. Just walk in the door and ask.
Yeah, I even go to colleges and, I'm like, hey, I'm trying to hire someone that wants to do this. And most of the time they're project management or they're an architecture major. And those are what we start with, it's kind of an underserved area to get into the systems tab in Revit, I think, at least in what they teach at universities.
Yeah, I think the university route is not a bad route. Like you can come out being an amazing project coordinator, an amazing project manager, doing things for BIM. Now, as a coordinator, you have to dictate clashes and issues and be able to appropriately send those messages to the guys who need to know where they're at to fix them. I will tell you, it's not the funnest when you're the coordinator. You got to tell everyone to do what they got to do. But, there's definitely different routes. BIM, all digital construction industry is massive. Like, just like you go into the trades, there's so many different facets now that are not just a trade specific thing. There's, even architects, engineers, structural guys, they're still modeling. And so pretty pictures, 8 years of college, electrical design, laser scanners, automatic benders, 4 years in the trades, making money.
Yeah, you brought up the automatic benders. That's something I didn't bring that up earlier, but it is something we're definitely interested in.
Yeah.
I mean, when that technology comes out, it's going to disrupt so much.
Oh yeah, there's some people making big moves in the electrical industry to help kind of speed up production and prefab, because that's not something that's not something that's standard that a lot of people are doing, is prefabricating a lot of their electrical equipment or conduit or spooling wires for their drops or whatever. Like there's not a lot of that prefab going on. You guys are doing some of that, which is great. And that's why I told you there's some people out there that are not doing what you're doing that really should start taking a look at their process and looking at prefabrication, because that's a massive, massive upgrade for the electrical industry. Brian, I want to ask you if you had any advice to give anyone coming out of high school who maybe had the slight interest in electrical. What would you suggest for them to look at first or reach out to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do. I guess it depends on your age. So, reaching out to a trade school if you're in high school, or even I'm sure if you have any people in the electrical industry in your life that could show you a thing or two, just a day in the life sort of thing. See if you can shadow someone at a company. I've had people shadow me. I've had, if you can reach out, if you're in the Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan region, come call me. But yeah, I mean, trade schools, reach out to them. If you don't have that, there's other options. You go to your local union or non-union shop or organization to just try and get your foot in the door. Even if you're driving truck, electrical vendors, also a good place to start. You start
Mhm.
learning the equipment. But yeah, I mean, any of those options are great ways to start getting your foot in the door. But sometimes there's a wait list to get in, at least into the union. Where they'll take classes a couple times a year and only certain sizes. So, and if you're already working in the industry, like I said, if you're working for a non-union, even if you want to get to the union route, um, keep that application in, and they'll call eventually, and especially if they see that you're working in the industry already, it gives you a leg up because it puts you ahead. Like one of the main things I used to do is I have a bunch of magazines or product catalogs back behind me here.
Mhm.
When I used to get there to job sites early as an apprentice, and at my spot I had a stack of like my caddy book and my Cross Hines book, and I just sit there and look through it and try and think of ways that you can make these weird looking little assemblies. What does that do? Just be curious about it, ask questions. It gives you a major leg up on, just being knowledgeable. I mean,
Mhm.
that something out there exists that is going to solve this issue. That's also another way that's very helpful. But starting out, try and reach out to a trades, a local union, or an electrical contractor if you know someone. And they might be able to even hook you up with someone, even if they aren't local to you. They might
That's
give you a contact.
that's great. Awesome. So, Brian, for our listeners out there, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm really active on LinkedIn. I
There you
probably check it way too many times during a day.
go.
But LinkedIn, my email address, I have no problem giving that out. It's Dilley, D as in dog, Illey, at lakeerieelectric.com. It's got way too many E's. Uh,
Yeah.
just,
Well, that's awesome. I mean, so if you guys are out there and you want to get in touch with Brian or interested in getting the electrical industry, he's
mhm,
more than happy to help out, like he was saying. And obviously, if you're not in that Ohio, Michigan area region, he's
mhm.
probably help you out find someone who's where you're at. So,
Yeah.
um, Brian, thank you for having on. I appreciate it. This was awesome. Glad we can reconnect after the advancing prefab fiasco, and maybe we'll have to have both you and Aaron on for to talk about what that happened. It wasn't really a fiasco. It was just a very late night that I vaguely remember.
Yeah, yeah. It was a good night. I remember it very well, so I'm good
Good,
to
good, good,
talk
good.
about it.
You could fill me in a little bit. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex, for having this platform, and trying to get people involved. I really appreciate it, and it's something that I'm passionate about, and can help in any way. I'm here.
That's awesome. Thanks. All right, guys. Thank you.